Lightning and derechos are what we're talking about today with meteorologist Adam Sherwinski. Did I say that right?
Yes, Sherwinski,
Okay.
yes.
I was talking about derechos. I feel like
oh.
I'm talking about Dorito nachos, but I know that's not right.
You know, it is a Spanish word, so I get it. You know, you kind of get that vibe. You want to say other Spanish words like tacos, burritos, and then you get hungry and you want to have lunch. It's past lunch already,
Here we
though.
are.
Yes.
Now we're thinking about dinner already, but you know.
Okay,
Yeah, we
well-
are talking about derechos. We're talking about lightning, as you guys said, and you know, we're getting out of that season, and Tiffany asks, you know, what causes lightning? Well, what causes lightning is kind of interesting. It's kind of like static shock. You guys have ever had that where you're rubbing the feet together and then all of a sudden you get the doorknob and you touch it and it goes zap. It's like that, but on a larger scale. So just keep that in mind. Lightning forms because you've got the change of charges of electrons there from positive charges to negative charges from the ground to the cloud itself. So looking at this, you can kind of clearly tell that we've got the ladder kind of going. The step ladder there is you got the positive charges climbing up the tree, the negative starting to climb back down, and then it's the change between electrons there, and the change of charges too as well. So pretty cool little thing. We've got lots of types of lightning too, not just the ones that hit the cloud to ground, and yeah, it all happens within a couple of seconds or so. There it is, intra-cloud, very common, cloud to sky, cloud to ground, and very rarely we get the bolt from the blue. That can happen from about a mile away from the thunderstorm itself here. So pretty cool stuff as well. And then we've also talked about derechos. You were just mentioning it. We were just talking about it, tripping over the word, and now thinking about all the other words we know in Spanish. Well, derecho.
Okay, let's not get to derechos yet. I got another question about lightning.
That's all right. That's all
So
right.
you're going so fast here,
I'm just
Adam.
so excited to be with you
well,
guys. And
as
to see you
are we.
guys.
As are we. Let's talk a little bit more about lightning, because what's the correlation between lightning and thunder?
That's a good question. So lightning happens, and then we have thunder afterwards as well. It's kind of the sound that you get from that boom from the lightning strike. So it happens, you see it, okay, there's lightning. The boom is afterwards because light is faster than sound. So there you go.
So, and then what's the old wives' tale where you count how many
yeah.
seconds between each like bout of thunder, and then that's how far away the storm is? Is that accurate?
It is and there isn't, because it kind of depends on where your location is within the thunderstorm or away from the thunderstorm. Are you in the storm? Are you out of the storm? Is it coming? Is it going? And then people always say, well, it must be getting closer because it happened like that. And there is some kind of truth to it in the fact that the minute you hear it right after the flash, you're pretty close to that lightning strike, but it doesn't tell you exactly where that storm is or where it's moving towards. It just kind of tells you, hey, that was pretty close by.
Okay.
That is super interesting.
Well, now that I know all the things about lightning.
As I'm speeding through this, sorry,
Yes.
guys.
no, this is good. It's just woo, right?
Yes, okay, derecho. Are you surprised? I think that was the question that we
Right.
had. Were you surprised by this summer's derecho?
And that's the interesting question, because we did have a viewer that kind of asked that about us, and we knew that day that we were going to see severe thunderstorms back in June. You guys remember that we had all that
Yes.
wind come through here back in June, at the end of June, right before we got to July the 29th. That's the day. We had that derecho come to the region, and we were already gearing up for that storm. That didn't be really stormy. We had wind, definitely in our forecast there for some of those thunderstorms. But the thing is, you can't really tell if it's a derecho or not, even if it has very similar properties of a derecho, until it kind of meets this criteria. So it's a long-lived storm traveling about 240 miles plus 400 kilometers there if you want to use the metric system, and has a width of about 60 miles for the path of damage, wind damage there. Wind gusts about 58 miles per hour or more. That's our criteria for severe thunderstorm wind gusts. And then separate little bouts of wind gusts, several of them about 75 miles or more. And we saw that here this past June as well. Good wind shear, a warm, humid setup. We had the setup for the severe storms, as I mentioned before, but you need that. Plus, you kind of want that environment to be warm, humid with good shear, and you also want to have it where we might have a boundary or an area where we can see those storms kind of really form too as well. Now there's different types of derechos too as well. We get one a year typically, and usually here in the Midwest, our portion of the Midwest, we get the progressive type. And this is actually a graphic we made days before the severe weather happened, about a day or two before, and you'll see that we had that area down to the south. It was all warm, humid on the edge of a ridge of high pressure here. So you already got that warm air in place. We were expecting thunderstorms leading up to this event, and then we did expect severe weather too as well. So right on the edge of that ridge of high pressure, that's where you might look out for if you have a good enough wind shear, and this is a good area to have good wind shear to sometimes have that kind of form, that derecho to form. So we did kind of know that we were going to have the severe weather. Now, we didn't know if they were going to reach the criteria of a derecho, but it did.
Well, there you go, and that's why you guys are the most accurate. now going on 11 years in a row.
Pretty good.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much. We're always happy to come hang out in the Weather Center with you.
You know, sometimes I like filling in for Jacob, so this is great to make this more of a regular thing.
There you
Yes,
go.
absolutely.
Jacob who? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, there are all the ways that you can connect with Adam, and maybe he'll join us next week for Ask Your Meteorologist. You never know, but definitely hit him up with all your questions, and maybe he'll answer them next time. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, guys.